All right. Oh, the suspense.
I love
So
the
good.
layers, like it played multiple times over the top of itself. It was great. That's beautiful. Like every time we should add
Yeah.
another layer. So it's just like, yeah. Ooh.
Alrighty. Happy Friday. Well, happy Friday to you if you are in the future part of the world. Here we have Friday, and we're soon. I'm actually going to go sailing in a little bit. I'm hoping there will be some wind, so that should be fun. What do you have any weekend plans, John? I think you're muted. Yeah.
I am hearing some crazy echo. Hang on. Let me just quickly check if I am also streaming it.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go. All right. All right. I'll stop being insane now. Um, I was hearing, I had it open in a tab and it was playing and it played over the top of each other. And then you were like saying multiple things over the top of yourself. And I was like, hang on, this is
Dang.
not right. So yeah. Hey, how's it going? Do I have weekend plans? I I was gonna try and build another project for the hackathon over the weekend, but
Oh,
we'll
nice.
see how
Yeah.
far I can get. Um, I
The
don't have high
sound.
hopes though.
Well, can you talk about it? Was it the soundboard idea or?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll just build it after the hackathon anyway. Maybe that can be my actual like holiday project while I'm taking
Yeah,
some time off work. What better way to take time off from Superbase and recharge than build a project with Superbase? It's a great idea.
indeed.
Um, but yes, so I was thinking about building a sampler kind of thing. So you've got a collection of samples that you can trigger, like a soundboard, and I've partially built a
Oh.
project in the past that was like it never ended up um, actually getting finished, but I had this cool like keyboard layout. So it was every key on the keyboard on like a QWERTY keyboard, and you could
Mm.
just drag and drop samples onto any key and then
And
immediately
then
play it on that key.
play them. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And so you could like just like what I actually did use it for a little bit was just like um, tinkering around with like hip hop samples and stuff when I wanted to produce a beat. I just like bring in a kick drum and a snare and a hi hat, and then just like tap out on my keyboard a little drum pattern. And it used lots of like the web audio
Yeah.
API stuff. Because if they were just audio elements, there's too much lag. Like when you press the button, it doesn't play immediately.
Mm.
And so, yeah, solved lots of cool problems about efficiency and making it really responsive. And so now I feel like I could um, build the backend part of that using Superbase, so I can actually store those samples in a Superbase database. And
Mm.
then I was thinking about building like a preset collection of sound bites of me saying silly things, a pre-built collection of you saying silly things, and so you can
Ooh,
toggle between the two
the
of us,
silliness
and then have a custom one for like whoever is actually using the app and signed in, and they
to
can
record.
drag and drop their own samples. Yeah, which would be very cool.
Or oh yeah, they could record the voice and then it uploads to storage. That
Yeah,
sounds pretty cool. All right, so many great ideas. If you're watching and you have great ideas or you're building something for the hackathon, let us know in the chat. So we are building something for the hackathon, or well, kind of themed for the hackathon, which is the holiday Hackdays. If you want to read all about it, if you haven't heard it about it yet, you can read our blog post here. I've posted it in the comments. And yeah, get hacking. We're still running this until I think Sunday night US time. So that's going to be fun. And we are building an advent calendar. And maybe, John, you can, should we pull up your screen and have a look at where we are right now?
we absolutely should. All right, that's our checklist. We
Beautiful.
can go through that in a second. So, to give you some context, all the way from the start, we are building a similar interface to this. It's definitely not going to look as nice as this, given that this is the last day of our streams. But functionality-wise, we wanted to try and build something similar where we have a collection of Superbase resources that we could release on different days. And so Egghead at the moment are running a holiday course release extravaganza where they are releasing a new course every single day. And you can see that that's going to go up to, I don't think it's synced up with each day. Like I think it started just before the 1st of December, but they will be releasing 20 courses over the course of 20 days, which is very exciting. And I highly recommend you check out this one right here. It's made by a really smart person about a really smart product. So I would jump in there and have a look. But yeah, basically we want to build something similar to this, only using Supabase behind the scenes. Although they might be using Supabase, I don't know. I suspect they're using Rails though, because I think the rest of the app is Rails. But need to run our server again.
Server.
This is our almost exactly as beautiful version of this same interface.
And it is the 10th of December. We've got our new door open. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Wait, is it that one?
It just appeared. I think so, no?
Let's have a look, because in our backend, which is hosted on Supabase, we have a collection of doors. So all 4 doors are now open, and all 4 doors are open here. So the functionality is working. That's very cool. And so we have a collection of resources that you can go and check out about Supabase. I think I'll continue building this out a little bit and make it a proper useful collection of a whole bunch of content. I was thinking of maybe next week putting together, like basically just finding a whole heap of useful resources on Supabase and just populating the whole of December with different bits of cool courses that you can or cool videos that you can check out. But yeah, I don't think we'll make it all the way to there by the end of this video, but or the end of this stream, but we'll see. So yeah, clicking on any of these courses takes you to that actual resource. So this one's on Egghead, this one's on YouTube. And so yeah, that's where we're at the moment. One thing I did want to shout out is in the first stream, if you've been with us the whole time, Thor and I implemented GitHub authentication, which was really simple. But we ran into a problem trying to set up the callback from Twitter to set up Twitter auth as well. And so I wanted to shout out this Avnish's guide that he's written very recently, actually just in the last couple of days. Maybe he watched the stream and was like, oh, they need my help. I need to get in there and fix this.
That could be the case.
He's put together this awesome guide of implementing Twitter auth with Supabase and Next.js. So that would be a good one to check out if you want to do that in your own application. We have our Supabase database, got our doors, our authors. We've been stepping through row-level policies, and we've been using Supabase UI, which is an awesome UI library built by some people at Supabase and some people from the community, which gives us a whole bunch of really nicely styled things that we can use out of the box. So if I go to our admin page, I'm not signed in. And so it said, you can't go to the admin page. You need to sign in. And so if we sign in with GitHub and go back to our admin page, you'll see a collection of nicely styled form components, which have all come in from that Supabase UI library, as well as the auth itself. Auth was super easy to implement because we could essentially just bring in this pre-built component, and then we could just pass it a collection of things that we wanted to actually be able to authenticate with. Where are we? Where am I trying to look? A list of providers somewhere. Somewhere up in the, maybe up in the provider. But yeah, we were able to just pass a list of providers that we'd like to be able to sign in with, and it basically just took care of the rest of it for us. So very cool UI library that has been built for Supabase. We've been working our way through this checklist of things. And so in the first few streams, we've created a Supabase project, a Next.js project. We've played with some row-level security and written some policies to ensure that only courses, basically because we want these courses to incrementally release across the whole month, we wrote a policy that basically only lets you see on this page, only lets you see all of the courses that have actually been released or the doors that have been opened. And so we did all of that with row level security policies, and it was surprisingly simple. We then did like a little bit of styling, not a huge amount of styling. We added auth, we did some more auth, we did some more auth, and we built out an admin page that you can only view as a signed in user, which we might be extending a little bit today. And then yesterday, in the most recent video or stream, we went through implementing file storage. And so actually storing the, we'll find it, there it is, these images, storing these images in a Supabase storage bucket, and then being able to pull them back out and display them on this page, which was, yeah, very fun. So today, I've kind of modified these a little bit before the stream started, just so we didn't have to step through, pretending we're brainstorming what we will do again. In this one, we're going to try and implement our role-based authorization. And so with that admin page, currently anyone who's signed in can see the admin page, but really we would only want that admin page to be accessible by people who have an admin role in their user. And so, yeah, we'll look at implementing that. Creating an individual page for each door. So because we were thinking it would be good to, because the whole theme of our hackathon is building real-time applications, we realized we're not actually using any real-time yet. And so we'd like to implement likes and comments. And so in order to do that, because it doesn't really make sense for us to have likes and comments on this page, like it'd be a bit weird having like a stream of comments coming out of the card, we've realized we probably need to build a separate page for each one of these doors. So when you click on one of the doors, it will go to that door's summary page. And yeah, maybe we can do something with like, if you click the actual image itself, it takes you directly to the resource like this. But maybe if you click anywhere else in the card, it'll take you to the kind of more details page for that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and then as I said, we're going to implement some real time. So we're going to add the ability to like and comment on each of those doors. And then finally, we have to make sure we actually get to here, because it would be a shame not to actually deploy it. But yeah, hopefully we can see how easy it is to deploy this application to Vercel. How are you feeling about that, Thor?
That sounds great. Pretty packed day.
It is a packed day, so maybe we should jump into it. All right. So the first thing we want to do is implement roles. And so if we have a look at our Supabase database and we make a quick query for, we can say select star from auth.users. And so this is a special table that exists on the auth schema. And it's basically a table that's maintained for us by Supabase. And so we don't want to modify anything in this table ourselves. This isn't where we want to like add extra columns or yeah, basically we just want to leave this table as it is, because it might change at any point in different versions of Supabase. We may modify the structure of this table. We might rename it if we were really mean. But yeah, ideally, we don't want to modify this table. If we would like to keep a track of our own extra data about the user for our application, we probably want to put that in our own table. So the way we can do that is create a new table called profile. And so this is going to be just extra information about our users or their profile for our application. And I guess the thing that I'm thinking of adding into this is a role, because we have a role in that auth.users table, but that kind of just determines whether our user is signed in or signed out. If we want to implement our own role that exists within our application, so whether someone is a user or an admin, it's probably a good idea just to put that in our own separate table. So the description for this one, because I know you love your descriptions, is let's say app extra app specific user data. So we can have a role here,
Nice.
and then because we want a profile basically to have a one-to-one mapping with our current auth.users table, anytime we create a new user, we would want to have an associated profile. And so our profile table can actually reference our auth.users table, even though it's in a different schema. We can set up a foreign key relationship between those two tables so that we can't have a profile without having a user that it's associated with. So we can click this little link icon here next to our ID, and we can set up a foreign key relationship to our auth.users table, and we can set that to the ID. And now, is there anything else you think we'd want to keep a track of for our users at the moment?
Yeah, I think for now we can try to copy over the email if it's available. So, for example, with some of the OAuth providers, we get the email address and we can automatically copy that over. Maybe that's a good idea. But yeah, I think otherwise, yeah, let's start out with that, and
Awesome.
yeah, and then set up our trigger.
Yes, triggers. Now that is a good idea. Thor, what is a trigger?
Yeah, so a trigger is, I mean, if you're coming from the Firebase world, you're probably quite familiar with that, where you can basically listen to changes and then do certain actions. And now Postgres, you can do pretty much the same thing. So you can describe a trigger that is practically just a function that executes when something happens. And so for us, we actually want to execute a certain function to copy over our user data into our public users table anytime our Superbase auth signs up a new user. And that user could be signed up with the email login, it could be the OAuth login. So no matter how they sign up, basically when we're adding a new record when we're adding a new row into our auth schema, which is used by Superbase auth, so a new user has signed up, then we want to copy that information over to our public users table.
Awesome, cool. So it sounds like we want a function first to set up the logic that we actually want to run, and then we can add a trigger to call that function to say basically anytime an insert happens, or we can attach it to an update event or a delete event. Anytime this happens in the database, call this function. And so our function can be create profile for user. And this one is going to be on our public schema. The return type is going to be trigger. So this will, if you're setting up a trigger that calls a function, that function has to return a trigger. Otherwise, they don't line up properly. So we want to return a trigger, and then in our definition, we can add a begin and an end, which is required because we're using PL/PGSQL, which is a procedural language that comes with Postgres. And then that allows us to basically have multiple statements within this block of SQL or PL/PGSQL. So basically, it's a superset of SQL. You can just write select statements and things in here. But for us, what we want to do is we want to insert into the profile table.
And that's a public. Should we just say public.prof? Did you say profiles or profile?
Oh, did I do it again? I bet I did. All right, we got to fix that. Can't have. I'm so used to doing singular.
Sorry.
No, thank you. So we'll add profiles rather than profile, just so it's consistent with our authors and our doors. And then if we come back over to our functions, create a new function. Did I save this? Damn. All right. Create profile for user. It's going to be on our public schema. Return type will be trigger. In here we have our begin and our end, and we want to say insert into profile and then the values that we actually...
Public.profiles.
God, you're so good. Look at you go.
I mean, that just made you change it, so.
It's only reasonable. So we want to insert into this table, and then we can insert all of the columns. But since the ID is generated for us and the created at is generated for us, the only columns that we actually want to update are our role and our email. And so then we need to tell it what the values are that we want to insert into those columns. And so basically we need to pass 2 strings. I'm not sure if it's double quote strings or single quote strings.
But aren't we passing the... So basically new is our record, that is the new record. So we're passing variables, right?
That's right, we are. So what does new represent in this case?
Yes, so new is the record that was inserted, in this case, into our auth table. So basically it is the, yeah. How would you
so
say?
it's the new
just
row.
Kind of the whole row that was just added. So that's new, and then we can access whatever is in there. So I think the first one is our, was it ID, right? We need to pass the ID of the user.
Good call. We do need the ID.
So
new.id. And then we pass the role, which is new.role. And then we pass the email, which I think is new.email. I'm sure we'll get a very helpful error if not.
Question. We'll see. I'm actually not entirely sure what the schema is. We probably could look. Should we? Maybe we save this and then we have a look at the public auth. At the auth schema table.
That's a good idea. I'm just going to add the last line here so it doesn't give us an error, which is return new. So anytime you set up something that returns a trigger, you have to return new from the end. Yeah, that's just something you got to do. So let's confirm that. And then let's just quickly look at our auth.users table again. I just realized I didn't put my resolution down. Is this okay, or is it a bit small?
I think you can probably zoom in a little bit, but...
All right, let's do it.
Otherwise...
We'll just get a flash. There we go.
Yeah.
And that looks right. Everything's all good. Yep. All right. Cool. So we have, sorry if you've been struggling to see up until now, squinting at the screen. We have an ID. We have our AUD, role, email. So what we were pulling out from here was our ID, which is going to be this value, our role, which is going to be authenticated. So we don't actually...
We don't really need the role, I think. Yeah.
No. Good point.
And then email. Yeah, email. That's great.
Yeah. So one way we might actually want to do this, because I'm imagining that we have 2 roles initially for our role, our user, our profile role. And so I'm thinking that we have user and then we have admin. So we could actually come to our profiles table and we could set a default value for our role to be user. Yeah, I guess just lowercase. And then when we actually want to update the value of our profile, if we want to make someone an admin, then we can do that by changing that role. So yeah. So if we come back to our database functions, and then we edit our function here. So we don't actually care about the role that is in our auth.users table, because that's always going to be authenticated. And we don't actually need to set that when we insert a new value into our public.profile, because the default value is going to be user. And so every single time a new user logs into our application, a new row will be created for them in the auth.users table. That's going to, in a second, trigger a call to this function. And then this function will go and create a new public profile with that ID and that email. So we just need to set up our actual trigger. So that's the function that's going to be called. And then our trigger is actually like, which event do we want to listen to and call that. So we can call this create profile trigger something. We want this to be on the auth auth.users table. And so this is the table we want to listen to events on. So anytime there's an insert event on the auth.users table, after the event occurs, for every row that's affected by that statement, we want to call the function create profile for user. And so now we can test this is working. If we go back over to our table editor and go to our, actually we don't need to do anything there. We need to go to authentication and then users and delete our user that's currently logged in. You can actually delete all of these users because they were just test users that we had in the, so we have
the foreign key relationship, or what's that?
We have some objects in our storage that are associated to this user. And so that's what I was quickly going through at the end of the last stream, which may have been a little bit too much information to just kind of jam into the end of that stream. But we have this storage.objects table, which has a collection of information about each of those files that we've put in our bucket. And you'll see that each of those is associated to a user. And so this user here is actually the ID of our auth.users user, this one. This is the ID here. And so we can't delete this user because they have items in the storage.objects. So we could just delete the items. Let's just do that. We can re-upload them again once we have our application working correctly. We could set them to a different user and then set them back. But yeah, we may as well step through creating them again. Yeah. Right. Were we using these for the courses? We don't seem to have the other courses in there. Anyway,
yeah, no, I think the other courses we actually just used the image URL. You remember in the beginning? We were just putting the image URL from the CDN of like YouTube or Twitter. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So now I believe if we do a select on storage.objects, these should be also removed when we remove the files. Yeah, cool. So now we're able to come over to our users and delete our currently logged in user. And then we can also delete our other two users.
Oh, nice. Hijabi Coder is here again.
Happy
Friday morning.
Yeah. 4 days in a row. That's amazing.
Woo. Here to hype you to the end.
Excellent.
Love it.
So now if we come back to our application, what were you going to say?
And then Forbes School says they are looking for tutorials with Flutter and real-time.
Okay.
Do we have anything in the advent calendar for that? That's a good question.
We definitely have some Flutter content, but I have to confirm. I'm sure there is something that uses real-time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send me a DM or publicly
if you
question us on Twitter.
Yeah. Indeed.
And we will definitely reply with something later today.
Maybe if we're in the Q&A. Are SQL functions and triggers available in the Superbase Studio? Yeah, I think that's what we just used, right?
Oh, as in the open source, like as in if you're running the studio locally?
I think so, yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah, I think so. I believe they are available.
Because, I mean, we're running just the open source version of the studio, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Let's say yeah. And if they're not, you want to hassle Johnny on Twitter and ask him why it doesn't. And he will give you a lengthy explanation as to why it doesn't right now, but why it will soon. But I'm pretty sure that it is already supported. Because like we're dog fooding our own thing. Yeah, makes sense. All right. Can you hear some kind of plane or something outside? Never mind.
I cannot.
We're fine. Cool. So if I now try to go to this admin page it's not letting me go to it. It's redirecting me to the login page. And so that's because we're no longer logged in as our user from earlier. So I'm going to have to log in again because we've deleted that user, so they no longer exist. And you'll see that here I'm getting an error. Oh, I'm getting a server error here. That's interesting. Database error saving new user. So if we come...
Okay, so maybe our function, because the trigger needs to run successfully before the insert into the auth schema can happen. So maybe we messed up the trigger?
I think that we need to execute this trigger with a higher level of authority. I think we're failing a security check, which means, yeah, we're going to have to create this again. So once you've created a trigger, you can't come back and modify it, but we can delete it and we can just recreate it. And I can show you the bit that I think we forgot to do, or that I forgot to do. I won't blame you, Thor.
Is it the language security definer or something like that?
Yes, exactly. So create profile for trigger, auth.users, insert, after event, row, and then the function we want to trigger. All right. It exists on the function itself, not the trigger. We're going to have to wind back the clock. We're going to have to start all the way back from here. Let's have a look. We can't edit that part of our function. So we can delete our function. We're going to create a new function, and we're going to write it properly this time. It's going to be on the public schema. It's going to be a trigger. We're going to have a begin and almost an end. And we are going to insert into public.profiles. And we're going to grab the ID and the email, and we're going to give it the values new.id, new.email, return new. And then the little bit that we forgot, if you scroll down, there are these advanced settings. And so if we drop that down, we can
security definer.
Yeah, so this security invoker means that whatever tries to call this, whatever role the bit of code that tries to call this is, it will basically it will execute this function as that user. Whereas we want to execute that function as the level of security that this is defining it. I know that's a very confusing thing to say, but basically this is going to give us a higher level of authority than the security invoker.
Yeah, I think the description is pretty good. So it's executed with the privileges of the user that created it. And when we're in the dashboard, we are a super user on our database. So yes.
I forgot my semicolons.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Lovely.
So now we'll set up our trigger again.
What languages are available for functions? So these are database functions specifically. And I think there's a couple different languages available. I think in the dashboard, is it only PG-SQL or?
That's a good point. I think in our dashboard, you can only, in our dashboard, there are only a few languages, PL, PGSQL, and SQL. But by default, Postgres supports C, JavaScript. Oh, you might need to turn on PL V8 thing, but
V8 engine.
Yeah, but C, Java,
maybe we just
JavaScript,
link
Rust.
the docs. Yeah.
All right, let's create our trigger. But yes, if you still wanted to do that with your Supabase database, that's why we give you this beautiful unrestricted or mostly unrestricted SQL editor. And so in here you can actually create or replace functions, and in there you can declare any of the supported languages that you want to declare your function as. And if you want to learn more about that in real time, I can say go and check out. Where's my SEO? Go and check out this Create Postgres Functions with Supabase video from our Supabase channel. I go through a lengthy explanation as to how you can define your own Postgres functions using the SQL editor instead of the UI. But let's use this beautiful UI to create our trigger. What? Triggers. Create a new trigger. There we go. And we want that to be on auth.users. Anytime we insert into there, after row, and create profile for user. Okay, so that has created successfully. Let's quickly delete our user, which doesn't exist because we didn't successfully sign in.
Yes.
And so it's rolled back all of those changes. So now if I try to go to the admin interface, redirects me to login, I sign up with GitHub, and then that looks like we've successfully signed in. And now if we go to admin, we see that page. And this image is broken because that is the only one that was actually using our file storage. And so we can go through and fix that in a little bit. But the cool thing is, if we refresh here, we see our new user that's just signed in. And so this is coming from our auth.users table. This is our new user. But then this user ID, this E1D, blah, 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 now exists in our profiles table as well. So there is our ID. And we have the role of user, which is that default value for any time we create a new role. And we have our email of our user. So everything looks like it's wired up correctly. Neat. So that's cool.
And then did we actually want to basically sync back the role into the metadata? Is that what we're doing? Or are we just querying the role in our server-side props?
Yeah, so we could do either. We could, now that we have this separate table, in our admin page, in our admin page in get server-side props, we're basically just pulling the user out of our cookie and then checking if we don't have a user, then we want to redirect the user to the login page. And so right now, this doesn't do a check to see whether that user is an admin or not, just that they are signed in. And so we probably want to add an additional check here to see that that user is definitely has that admin role. And what Thor was just alluding to is that that data is stored in a different table. So that's in our public.profile table. And the user that comes out of this cookie comes from our auth.users table. And so if we console log out our user and we refresh our admin page,
oh, it's on the server side, right? So you need to check your
good call.
server logs.
Gets me every time. Cool. So we have a user, and they have basically all of the information from our auth.users table. But there's also this user underscore metadata section. And so this is a list of additional stuff that we got from GitHub, essentially. And so, yeah, we have a little bit of extra information about what our preferred username is on GitHub, and yeah, whole bunch of cool stuff. And so it would be really nice if, because we're now keeping extra information about our user in this profile table, basically anytime we modify that data, it would be really cool if we could come and insert it into or update it in our user underscore metadata for our auth.users table as well. And then we wouldn't need to do a second request here, because otherwise we would need to make another request to Supabase and say, hey, Supabase, what's the profile for this user? And then we can check whether the profile has that role. But if we were to set up this kind of cyclical relationship between these two tables, anytime a new user gets added to the auth.users table, it goes and creates a record in the user table, in the public.profiles table. And then anytime we update a value in that public.profiles table, it goes and writes to our user metadata within our auth.users table to say this is the new role for that user. for example.
I think it should actually write to the app metadata, right? Because I think the user metadata can actually be modified by the signed-in
Good call.
user, whereas the app metadata can only be modified by a service role key. And so anything, basically the user metadata, it's fine for the user to update that if they authenticated, it's kind of there. It's a good point though. The email verified flag probably should not be in the user metadata.
User can just update.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm verified. Of course I am.
Yeah.
Give me access.
Interesting. Okay.
But I think this is coming from, well, I don't.
Yeah, I should check on that. I should check with Kang. That's a good one.
But yes, so we want to update the app.metadata, to reflect that value. And so we could have like an app role or something. We'll call it app role just to distinguish it from our role here, so that if we're writing some logic, we don't actually mess that up. Cool. App metadata. So it sounds like we're going to need another function and another trigger, because it sounds like we want to basically, we've set up a trigger on this table, this auth.users table, to say, hey, when you insert a new value, go over and write that value to this table. We now need to set up the reverse of that, where we say, hey, this table, anytime you update a value, go and tell this table about it. So we're going to need another function. Create new function. And this can be update app metadata. This will be on our public schema. The return type again is going to be trigger. And then we have our begin and our end. And we can say update. Oh man, it's been a while since I've written an update statement. I'm assuming update auth.users. And then I'm assuming we tell it which column to update. And so a app. Ooh, I wonder how you do this at all. Because I believe the app.metadata is a JSON-B column. And so we probably need some fancier syntax.
It is raw app. And it's actually called, I think, raw app metadata.
Okay. Let's have a look at trusty Stack Overflow. Yes, of course, set. So we want to say update the table that we want, and then set.
And so we have a JSON B set, okay.
Because we don't want to update the other bits of data, do we? Like we wouldn't want to overwrite what's in there. We just want to basically upsert the one value in there. Oh yeah, so this would be how we would do it, right? So update our auth.users, and then we want to set. This is the funky syntax for JSON-B, and so we're saying basically this is the name of the column. So in our case, our column is. Did you say it's?
I think it's raw underscore user. Raw underscore app underscore meta underscore data.
Whoa.
If I am not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, let's just keep it going. So we want to access a particular column within there, which is going to be our app role. We're going to have to do lowercase. And then we want to set that to be equal to whatever value we want.
And that should be equal to new.role, right?
Yes, it absolutely should. Yes. So this is actually an interesting point to talk about new. In the insert, we only had a new because we're creating a new value, a new row. But with update, we actually have an old value and a new value. So we can actually access, we don't want to in this case, but just for future reference, you can access the old values if you wanted to use this function to do some last minute validation or something like that. You can actually access the old value, or if you wanted to set up audit logs or something like that, every time someone updates a value in your users database or your users table, you want to write a row to an audit log to make sure that you can audit everything that's happened in your database. That might be a good use case for where you want to access the old value and the new value. So you could say this user updated the value from this to this. Anyway, at the moment, we just care about our new.role. And then the most important thing to add onto any update or any delete command is a where clause. Because if you leave this off, Postgres will be like, yep, we're happy. Supabase will be like, yep, we're happy.
Everything.
But it will update every single row in the database. And so you always need to add a where to say we only want to update this where the ID is equal to our new ID. And I think that should be it, right? And then we just need to return our new.
ID equals new ID. Yes, that should be it. Yeah, looks good.
Cool. So we just need to clarify that is the name we're looking for. And again, we want this to happen as the security definer, not the security invoker. So us as the user creating it rather than the user that is calling or invoking this function.
Oh yeah, Alice is saying, do we need to use, do you see this? Do you need to use instead of, I think the double arrow, do you only use the double arrow to access the field? Or do you always
you might actually be right, because I'm getting an error right now. Yeah, good call. Yeah, okay, so we need the double arrow.
Thank you.
The extra long arrow. And then we're setting up a trigger.
And did we verify the name on the auth schema? Thank you, Alistair.
Do you not believe us, Alistair?
Yeah, good thing he doesn't.
It's good. It is.
Oh, there's also another question. I'm loving this. Today is Friday and people are here. It's great.
I can't see any questions. I can't see you. I can't see you or any questions. I've only got one screen, so please relay them.
Yeah, that's fair. So the question is it possible to integrate Firebase auth with Supabase? And yes, I mean, it kind of depends what you're trying to do. I mean, you can use Supabase solely as your database. I think the big power of Supabase comes with the integration of Supabase auth with your Postgres role level security features. And so I think that gets a bit more complicated if you're using kind of an outside auth provider. But actually, Mr. John here has written a great guide on how to integrate Auth0 as an example, as an external auth provider. I've replied with it in the chat. And so you can go there and you can have a look. So I linked our guide, right? That's the same one. The guide's integrations Auth0.
Yeah, they're slightly different. So this one is an article that kind of like it kind of goes through some of the justification as well, and some of the it goes into a little bit more depth. Whereas our integration guide is really great if you just want to like get in there and do it. So it's more like a list of steps. It's the same list of steps. Like they go through a similar process. But if you're interested to read a little bit deeper into what's actually going on behind the scenes, I recommend checking out the Auth0 blog where we step through that. And I can chuck this one. You'll see a big mirror of all of yourselves, but I can chuck that one in too.
Nice.
All right, cool. Enough self-promotion. That's all this is. It's just an opportunity for us to gloat about all of the things that we've done.
All of the things that you've done. I need to start doing things.
You've done. You have been the one that's done the actual things behind what we're doing. You're the reason that we can sign in so easily, and
some of it.
Significant amount of work across the libraries themselves. I'm just the one that needs to have everyone praise me for it and do it publicly. Okay, so we have. You were right. It is the raw _app_meta_data, and that's
nice.
A nice little JSON blob here. And so we would be expecting that if we go and update that value now, a new key should be added to this JSON blob, which should be app_role, and that should have our user or whatever we change it to. So that's actually a good point. I wonder if update triggers for inserts as well, or whether we need to explicitly set one for
no,
insert.
that's fine because it's just JSON B update. So we're just updating the JSON B. I think it's different if you're updating. If you're adding a new column, that would be different. But I think this should be fine. Should we just give it a go? See what happens?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
See if we take down US East again.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. Superbase is getting a little bit too powerful. So if we come, just kidding. So if we come over to our profiles, this should now have a trigger on it where if we update this value, so if we were to update it to admin, and then once that's saved, if we come over to our auth.users table again, and come across to our raw app metadata, we do not have anything in there, so something's gone wrong. I might just try running that same SQL in the SQL editor and see if we got this bit right. So if I grab update, come over here, add a new snippet, and instead of new, we can make this
admin
some value, or some value.
Oh wait, your arrow needs to be not double hyphen, but rather double crocodile. What's the name for it?
Double crocodile, I love it.
Oh, Alice is right here saying wrong arrow again. Yes, Alice, that's it.
So sorry, we are not good enough. Here we go. All right, so we want to come back to our function, and in our function that updates our app metadata, we want to. It's interesting that it actually let us submit it because it picked up that it was the wrong syntax before. Oh no, it doesn't like this. I've actually had some issues with doing something similar in the past. Raw app metadata. That's the column, and we want to set.
Oh, sorry. It needs to be in single quotes, right, April? But that's what you had, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was new role.
Set. Maybe we need to. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. The double hyphen was commenting out the rest, which is why you didn't get a validation.
Excellent. I'm glad that we have some people who are actually familiar with
actually know Postgres.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay, well, why don't we try... oh, wait, no, that's an insert. All right, any other ideas?
Well, should we try the JSON B set? But okay, what's the error again that we're getting?
So
in the when you try to save the function in the dashboard,
we are getting just a syntax error. So failed to create function syntax error near or at or near that double thing. Oh, where's it gone? There we go. No, wrong one. This one. No, that's the wrong one. Go back. Raw app metadata. And it didn't work with the single. This is where we just randomly change characters until it stops complaining at us.
Okay, so we get the double. No, not double hyphen. You're commenting out things again.
Nearly got you.
Okay. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, so JSON B set is probably what we want.
Okay.
On B underscore set.
So we want to set the whole column to JSONB set, and then the column name, and then is it key value, I guess? I feel like there were changes to Postgres 14, which would be running as well.
Returns target with the section designated by path replaced by new value. New value added if created.
So we might be able to do like this. So let's try that kind of syntax. So we can go update this, and then we want to update this column. What was it? That column, that column, that thing, that thing.
No, sorry, no. It's in set. You're currently in update. You need to get back to set.
Yes, it is. Oh God, undo. Where are we? All right. So we want to update auth.users. We want to set. Is that what it's telling us to do? So column name.
I guess so.
The key within that column name is equal to this value. Looks right. Let's give that a try.
Does that work?
Oh yeah.
The question is if so JSONB has a parameter that's set create missing. But I mean, maybe the syntax works. Let's give it a go.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll totally work. If we make this crocodile, so we never forget again, and that's now saved. If we come over to auth.users again, we run this one.
Oh, Alistair thinks he might know you. He's asking, have you ever been to Melbourne JS or React Melbourne? I feel like I might have seen you at one.
Yes, I have been to both of those.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Little celebrity here.
I'll have to, yeah. Hit me up on Twitter. We'll work it out. This is not working, Alistair. You need to help us out. Yeah, you should come back to Melbourne. You should.
So it didn't work. It didn't work, right?
It didn't work. No.
Okay, so
this is our raw app metadata, which has our provider and our providers, but it's not updating with our new value. And looks like that's
I think we probably
update.
Actually have to do JSONB set. Okay, so
if we go back to our function, and so here, do we say set and then JSONB set?
So JSONB underscore set.
It's after the equals. Something like that, or JSONB set, and then we give it. Is it the column again, or is that so? Like I guess it's we don't want to overwrite the existing data. We just want to keep the existing data and then add this key.
It should be set raw. So the raw app metadata equals JSONB set. So because the JSONB set function is just a function that, so Alistair has it in the chat if you, that seems roughly correct. And then, do you see that? Oh, you can't actually copy it, right?
Whoa!
Okay, let me just
app metadata equals JSONB app role, new role. All right.
So, yes, raw app metadata equals JSONB set
our role to be our new role. Is that right?
Yeah, and then we need another parameter, which is just true, because, okay, 1, 2, 3. So the fourth should be a Boolean value, which means create missing is true.
Okay.
I think so.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
All right.
If the item doesn't.
I like that we're all in this now together. So
yeah,
it's not just us.
If
this doesn't work, we're sharing the responsibility across us and the chat.
So JSON-B is very powerful, but like, yeah.
You just have to actually know Postgres to use it. No, we know Postgres. We're great. Now, if we do our trusty select and nah, didn't work.
Raw app metadata. Okay, what happens if we just run the query?
Yeah, it's a good call. Not that. We want that. And we'll need to know what the ID for our... Well, I guess we've only got one user, so we could just run it for all of them. We could get rid of our where clause, like I said, you should never, ever, 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 ever do. But that's fine right now. So update auth.users set raw metadata equal to JSONB underscore set raw app metadata. And then we want to set the role to be, how do you spell alligator? Something like that. Invalid input syntax type for JSON. What if we get rid of these brackets? Once again, just randomly trying to remove bits of it until it works. Malformed array literal role. And so it sounds like maybe we did need that. What if we do double quotes? Alligator does not exist.
No. So column. Okay, wait. I think we're still doing something wrong with. Gotta be a JSON value. So it needs to be double quotes. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Around the value part, or around around this part?
Okay, wait. So, yeah, no. So it needs to be single quotes around, and then inside, it needs to be a JSON value. So double quotes, and so single quotes first, then double quotes around the alligator, I think.
Single quotes, and then double quotes with a single quote inside it?
No, single quotes outside, because it's, and then inside the JSON value is the double quotes, like that.
Success!
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right, let's come back to our functions. And this is why, usually, Supabase protects us from having to write this kind of stuff. But since we are trying to...
But did the update actually work? Did you...
yeah, surely.
Did it do things correctly?
It said success, Thor. It said success. No rows returned.
Success could mean it destroyed everything. That's also success.
Let's have a look. No, it didn't. Oh.
Okay, so what happened? Well, our role is in there, no? Yeah, at the very start.
Oh, right. I was looking at the end. Okay, cool. Maybe it was there the whole time.
No.
It absolutely wasn't.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, fabulous.
So,
gee.
Now we just need to work out how we modify this. And so the role was correct. Or how about I just dump this here? So role was correct. App metadata was all correct. So the only thing we should need to do is put quotes around this. And I think it may break, but we can do it. I have done something similar to this in the past. All right, it thinks it's all good. So now if we come to our profiles table and we update our role to be working, because then it has to work. If you use working as the test text, it has to work.
So
Otherwise, it's contradicting
Alistair
itself.
found a new function now that's called toJSON.
To
Oh,
JSON.
so that you could use that. So I think he says that we need to wrap the new role into a function called toJSON, because
Okay.
new.role is not actual JSON, but it worked, didn't it?
No, it didn't work.
It didn't
All
work.
right. No. So to JSON like this.
New.role, yeah, to_JSON new.role. All right, someone should write a SQL book. Wait, but the query that we writ solely, that worked? Why did that work?
Because we were doing it, we had all the quotes in the right place. We messed up the quotes with the when we tried to loop it into
because it was a variable.
trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it is
Returns the value as JSON or JSON-B. Oh, maybe it needs to be to_JSON-B. No, it should be fine, right? Like, because it's just a variable.
Surely.
It's just a string.
And if this works, then Alistair's passed the technical challenge and he should come work at Superbase.
Yeah, that, and he should get a beer at the next Melbourne
Definitely.
meetup.
Melb.js or
Melb
CSS for sure. It didn't work. Sorry, Alistair, we've got to let you go.
Right.
All right. Did it need to be to_JSON-B? To_JSON. Actually, I think I have.
I mean, you could try to_JSON-B, but it should just, because array to JSON. Do we know if our trigger is actually running correctly?
No, we don't. Oh, maybe I put it on insert. That would be funny. Let me just quickly check something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it seems like
build object is one thing that we could use, which I've used in another project.
But
anyway.
I think the trigger might not be running at all. Can we double check the trigger?
It's definitely set on insert. Wait,
we
don't have a trigger.
Let's create profile. Oh, wait, where's our trigger? Seriously?
Update user with metadata. All right, Alistair, you got your job back. Good job. All right, name of trigger. So we want to, let's have a think. What are we actually putting this on? We are putting the trigger on profiles.
That means our very first, oh no, we got a syntax error for that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind, yeah. So that wouldn't have worked.
No. Update at metadata. That should be all good.
This was a fun functions excursion.
Invalid trigger name. Maybe, yeah, all right. Update app metadata.
Alistair says he's now emotionally invested.
Yeah.
That's great. That's how we hook you.
Yeah, we'll add you as a contributor, and if you could just finish off the rest of the project, that would be excellent. So now we should be able to update this value to
we call it admin now.
Yeah, because we're confident we can actually use it to move forward. Oh, unknown it's coming in as. All right. Functions unknown. So
the second param was unknown.
Yeah, so it doesn't like this part. What if we go back to just new.role now? And then we go profiles.
Okay, so the path is wrong somehow.
Oh wait, it didn't actually. Oh, right. It didn't update because it didn't pass.
Yeah, because the
right.
Okay, so
JSONB set unknown.
unknown. Wait, why is this the path unknown? So Alison now says we need to cast it to text.
That makes sense.
So new role :text.
Yeah.
But it was the path that was giving us a hard time, no? Okay, maybe I didn't read the error message correctly.
No, I think it was failing because one of the values was missing. So if we now go admin, I think you're right. Nope, it's still unknown. That's weird. Oh no, it is the. You're right. It is the.
It
path.
is the second, right? So it is the path. The path is unknown. This is like a freaking riddle.
It is. And I love that it takes so many clicks and so much messing around to change each value as well.
Okay, returns target designated by path. So the path needs to be.
Oh, right, but it's probably just an empty string.
So you kind of need to. Because if you look at JSON-B set, the path needs to be an array of text. What? Okay. Can we get sometimes the Postgres docs are pretty. We're gonna spend the whole stream on this JSON-B set.
Definitely. Yes. I am going to try to do this one more time. So if we go to not that one, this one, if we take this, go back to set raw app metadata for our role to be equal to, and then it was new dot role and cast it to text, where the ID is equal to new dot ID. And then if we use our double crocodile, oops.
Maybe we need to cast our raw app metadata as JSON-B, but it is JSON-B, isn't it? That's a bit confusing. Because okay, have a look at if I post this in the chat, right, then you won't be able to see it. How do
Yeah,
I
I can come
link?
get it.
Okay. So have a look at this. If you click, you can't get to the link, can you?
No.
Okay. Wait,
I can block the user.
Wait, I can chat. Private chat. Okay, if you go to the private chat, try that.
Private chat.
And then if you go to the second one, second, how to. Yeah, and then scroll. So you see how like the first one is cast as JSON-B.
Oh, up here?
Yeah. Because everything else, if you scroll, you need to scroll the example. No, scroll sideways, sorry.
I get you. All right. We got there.
Right?
Yeah. Right. But we still need these quotes around it. So I think we need to break.
What was erroring was our second, the path. So I think it could be because, I mean, let's just try this exact same thing, right?
Yeah, cool. Let's do it. So we want to set.
So I think the only difference is the casting of JSON B
equals JSON B set, and we want raw app metadata casting to JSON B, and then we want our role, and we want this to be set to
to _JSON B
to new dot role as text, and then we want to close our set.
Put it in the to _JSON B, the new role text, right?
Like that?
No, the function. You need to wrap it in the function. The new dot role, wrap it into the to _JSON B function.
Boom. Like that?
Yeah, but still cast it as text.
Woo!
The role. Yeah. Okay.
We love Postgres. Confirm. Oh, we got the syntax right.
Whew, okay, let's check the comments. Maybe Alice is shouting at us again.
We have a trigger. So we should be able to now. So the trigger is on our profiles table.
Can you zoom in the interface? Okay, I think maybe the text is too small.
Is that better? I guess they're about 15 seconds behind us, but hello. That looks like it's saved, so we haven't had an error there. If we come over here, and we check out, oh, is that right? Should it have wiped out all of these other things? Yeah, I think they were null.
No, they were always null.
Perfect. There we go. Role equals hello. And that's how easy it is. See how easy Supabase makes it?
Well, I mean, the power of Postgres. But okay, so I think we learned a couple of things. Cast all the things and use all the functions.
Always
and
cast
then
all of the
we're
things.
good.
Yeah, cool. So
okay, Alice says he can now sleep at night. That's good.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. We're all in this together.
Okay,
what
now
were we doing?
Real time.
now
we need to get the role. Props. Well, we need to get the role in the get server side props, but that should be easy now.
That should be very, very easy because now we may need to log out and back in, but we can just try and refresh and see if that's the case. But oh no, it should have, wait, no, it wouldn't have updated. All right, refresh. I'll just stop talking to myself and we can actually do it on the screen.
It's in the server log.
Oh, it's in the server log. That's why that was open. I get it. App.useData. It actually is there. That's awesome. Okay, so it's updated that.
Fabulous.
So if we come to our database and we can leave the role as hello for now, so we can do some test-driven development and prove it's not working first and then fix it. So here we can say we get the user out and then we want to say if not user. We could do these as separate roles and send them to a different page.
Do another if underneath and then just send them to index because they are logged in, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It doesn't really make sense to send them to the login page.
Yeah.
So we just say if the user dot app metadata dot role is not admin.
Oh, if it does, if it does not equal admin, then we want to
and then you
redirect them to just the landing page. And we definitely want to use some optional chaining here because...
And you need to remove the first exclamation mark. Yeah. User.
Good call. If user at metadata.role does not equal admin, send them back to the home page. So now if we save and we come back here and refresh, we should be redirected to the landing page if everything's working, which it looks like it is. And again, if we try and go back to /admin, it takes us back to the landing page. So we can't see that page unless we have the role admin. So if we come over to our Supabase database, go to our profiles table, and change our role to be admin.
And
then
refresh.
If we go to the admin page or refresh and go to the
I think
admin
the
page.
cookie is... No, so it should be... Okay.
If we log out, which we haven't implemented, if we just go to our login page and we log in. So yeah, so you need to use it to log out and log back in, or we can handle that and update it automatically, but
Okay.
or maybe something's not working.
We need to check our role. Did it still not update? I'm gonna go crazy.
Hey man, we've got 40 minutes that we can keep working through just getting the role working.
And then
Our
we
role
didn't
is
do any
admin.
real time. Okay,
Yeah.
the role is admin.
And it's under raw at metadata. So what's it actually called in here?
Wait, so if we console log, yes.
It's at metadata, not.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So the underscore is only in the raw. No, you have meta underscore data. But if we, okay, that's a bit...
Consistency.
Ooh, we're learning so much here.
Cool. And now we can go to the admin interface. I'm actually curious, just quickly while we are spending so much time on this, I want to see whether you actually need to log out or not. Because I suspect if we change this to not admin, it shouldn't need a logout. And if we refresh.
Yeah, no, the get user by cookie actually does an API request to get the user. Yeah, so it is, from a security perspective, it's great. From a AWS build perspective, it's not so great. But
yeah, awesome. And so now, without needing to sign out and sign back in, we can now navigate to the admin interface. So that is very cool. So we've actually implemented roles properly. Ooh. Was there something else that we wanted to do? Oh yeah, just on the
just the real time.
Well, on the actual in the because right now if we actually try and use the form, it will fail our security policy, because if we have a look at our policy for our doors, we're checking that the role. Oh wait, no, they are still authenticated. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's a different role. Oh, do we want to step through the pain of trying to work out what it is to pull it back out of the JSON B column in our policy?
I don't think we actually can, because I think we only have the UID, the role, and the email. So our query would actually need to look at, I mean, it basically, we would need to write a query that looks at the role in our public users.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
Which we can do, right?
So yeah, so we probably don't want anyone who's authenticated to be able to do this. So what we can do is we can say select star from our profiles table, where ID is equal to auth.uid. Is that right? That should be right. So that will, so we're looking at the current row for profiles, sorry, for doors. So this will be our yeah, so this will be our currently logged in user. We want to go over to the profiles table and we want to look at the, grab the row that's associated with that ID. And then we want to check whether is authenticated is true. I mean, sorry, not is authenticated. What am I rambling about? We want to check what their role is. So we want to get the role from profiles where the ID is. So that will give us the role of the currently logged in user. So then we want to check whether that equals. Can we do this?
It needs to return a Boolean.
Yeah.
So
it's in, I did this recently in a video, but I'm trying to remember what the
okay. So exists. Yeah, Alice. Maybe we should just get Alistair on the stream. Exists. Select one from profiles where ID equals auth.uid, and role equals admin.
That's the one. Exactly. So we're checking whether it exists. Instead of selecting an actual column, we can just say 1, which is going to give us back true or false, or it'll only give us back true if it finds the value that we're looking for. And so we can say where ID equals that, and the role is equal to
admin.
Admin.
That should be it. Thank you, Alistair.
You rock.
All right, let me find the careers page.
All right, and we can see that now. That's not what we were checking. We're checking if we can actually create something. So let's say we want to create something for the 12th day, or maybe we'll say the 8th day so we can actually see it. And we can upload an image of my face. Ooh. Beautiful face. And the content URL, we can do some more shameless promotion to my website and click submit. And there we can see a beautiful, beautiful face, which means we need to go and fix this to have, was it object fit? Tailwind, come on. Tailwind. Don't even have to spell it right. That's how good their SEO is. We want object fit. Object cover. And all right, we're just going to ignore it. And that's because I'm on the wrong page. I'm on the admin page. So I need to take this and I need to put it on this page here. I'm not losing my mind. I know how to CSS. It's all good. All right. So what else do we want to do? We're severely running out of time, so we're going to have to go very quickly.
Yeah.
So we want to do an individual page for each door, and we want to implement real time with likes and comments. So we have half an hour. That's heaps of time. Heaps of time. All right. So first thing we want to do, you go.
There's also a question. Should we put
up
the question?
Absolutely.
What happens with the cookie if the user leaves the website and returns the next day? Will they have to log in again because the cookie is updated client side? Yeah. So basically, the way. Yeah, the way this works. No. Currently, the cookie expiration is set to the same as the JWT expiration. So. If it expires, the cookie is basically gone. And then what happens on the client side, basically, if the user goes back to your page, on the client side, we'll use the refresh token to get a new JWT, at which point we fire a new sign-in event. And then that sign-in event sets the cookie again on your server side. It's not the best flow at the moment, kind of how that is set up. So we're kind of looking at kind of more redirect flows where actually you don't have to restore the session client side. So we're working on that, but it should still work. So basically, we're on the client side refreshing the JWT and then setting a new cookie. Yoop.
Nice. I'll explain what I'm doing in a second. All right, so we're just creating a page that can display more details for each of our doors. And so because our index page can be built statically by exporting out get static props, because we this data is completely public and available, and it's not changing very frequently. So we can do that request once when we build a new version of the site, and then we can use revalidate every hour to ensure that that's fresh at least within the last hour. And now we're going to create a more details page for each of our doors. So we can click one of the doors and go to extra details about it. Because we want to statically build each of these, we need to tell Next.js basically a finite collection of options for those paths, because it can't go and build a static page for every single possible ID that exists without knowing a list of those IDs. So basically, we need to get a list of IDs for each of our doors, and then create a static page for each one of those IDs. So the first thing we need to do is bring in our Supabase client from probably somewhere like this. And then in here, we can say await Supabase client from our, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to get all of our doors, and we just want to select the ID. And
no, we want to select it all, but where the ID is, we want to filter, right?
Sorry, this is the get static paths I was thinking about. So here we want to get a list of all of our doors. So each of our, I guess, our door IDs comes from our doors table. We select all of the IDs. And then we want to return something with paths set to, actually, I can do it like this. Const paths equals door IDs dot map.
Oh, because you want to pre-build all of them, is it?
Yeah, that's right. So this is giving Next.js a finite number of paths, basically every single URL for one of those static pages that it needs to generate a static page for. So it will first call this function to find out how many static pages do I actually need to create? Like, what are the IDs for all the static pages I need to create, or the paths for all of the static pages I need to create? And then it will call get static props for each one of those individual pages. So that's where we'll grab the door data for each one of those individually. So I'm just going to quickly look at the documentation to see.
Yeah, I think generally what I do is, like, because there could be new pages being added, I think I statically build nothing and then have a fallback basically that builds on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
right.
fallback one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we have a list of paths, which is an array of objects with the params set to whatever our parameter is. So here we can say params is set to ID. ID, which should grab our ID from here, set the params to that. We can then set that as what we're returning from there, and then we can set fallback to be blocking. So the reason that we need blocking is, as Thor was just saying, if the page doesn't actually exist yet. So because we're using incremental static regeneration here, where we're saying, basically we want to rebuild this on the next visitor after every hour. So if someone comes to the page at 59 minutes since the last time it was built, nothing will happen. And then if someone comes over an hour since it was last built, it's going to go and rebuild this page for us. It's going to run that get static props function again and rebuild a new static asset. And so that doesn't make sense on the get static path side, because that path might not have ever been built yet. And so if we say fallback false, we'll see a 404 page because that page doesn't exist. And so Next.js will just give us a 404. But if we say blocking, it will go and attempt to build that page. And then if it can't build it, then you'll get a 404. Cool. So that looks good. And then in our get static props, we're going to get params and an ID from there, which we can then use to say we want to go and get our door from Supabase client dot from doors. We want to select. We're going to start off with star, and we can slim that down a little bit if we need to. We want to get that where the ID is equal to our ID that's being passed in here. And I don't think we need to cast that to a number, but we'll see soon. And then we only want one row back, so we can chain on dot single, and that's just going to give us one row. So that's why we just have a door here, which we can then return as our props, and then destructure in our actual component. And we can use that excellent trick Phil mentioned in a previous video, where we do a pre with a JSON.stringify, and we stringify our door and give it the second parameter of null, and then the parameter null, 2, and then that's going to pretty print it out on the page for us. So if I have all of this right, then we should be able to, rather than navigating directly to our door content URL, we're gonna have to change all of this, but yeah, let's get rid of target blank and no referrer because we're staying on our site. We're now navigating within our site, so we want to use a link tag, which we can bring in from Next.js. /link. And then within that link, we put our A tag. Oops. And the link is what we put our href on, and also what we put our key, but strangely enough, not what we put our class name on. So we leave our class name on our A tag, but our link, we put our key and our href, which will now be going to slash whatever our door.id is. And so that is going to navigate to this page, that number that we're navigating to, so that ID, if that was ID1, for example, then here, this ID would be equal to ID1. We're then selecting the door where that where the ID column is equal to ID1, and then we're sending that into our component, which is going to pretty print those values out on the screen. So let's see if we got it right. Let's go this one. Damn. Okay, so it was not provided as a string in getStaticPaths. So up here, this ID is a number, and we need to annoyingly cast it to a string. And there we go. We have our specific data for that door. And so now we can lay it out a little bit more nicely. So we can have a h1, which can be our door.title. Maybe a paragraph, which can be our door.description.
And we still need to load in the author from the foreign table, right?
Yeah, good call. So just my fingers know I'm working against the clock. They're not letting me type. Cool. So we have our door. And then, as Thor was just saying, we have our author ID, but we actually want that to be our authors. And yeah, we should probably get rid of the stuff that we don't need here. So we don't actually care about the ID. Oh, we do need the ID. No, we don't need the ID. Okay, so we don't care about the ID. We just care about the title. We care about the description. We care about, from the authors table, we care about the author's name and I think it was Twitter URL. Twitter handle, almost. And we probably
you could just copy that select, right?
It's a great idea. Let's do it. Yeah. And we'll just say we don't care about the ID. Okay, and now if we have a look at our door, we have authors, and so we've got all of the little bits of information that we need to display. Do we want to go much further? Maybe we should implement likes and comments instead of going through laying this out.
Yeah, should we just do like the Hacker News style upvote, yeah. Remove upvote or something like that, or? Yeah, maybe we just do upvote and then let's
make it like, so we can just keep. keep spamming like. Get everyone to like it as many
Okay.
times as they can. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So we've created a doors add likes, and they can be.
Is it not possible to do select star? Yes. So yes, it's definitely possible to do select star. It just is, yeah. You know, if you don't need the data, why send it over the wire? So the more explicit you are about the data you want, the better in general. But yeah, you could do also select star.
Yeah. So sorry, I kind of brushed over that because we were talking about it in a previous stream, and I'm sure everyone was paying attention to every single second of every other stream that we've watched if they're watching this one. And yeah, so we if we specify star, it's going to pull everything back from the doors table, and then everything back from the authors table. And if we have extra data there that we don't actually care about, we're not using on the page, then there's no need to send that across from Supabase to our application. And so if we specify each column that we actually need, then yeah, it's more efficient. So we're going to have a button that says like. Excellent. Oh, we can probably get Facebook on it.
Heart emoji.
Oh yeah, heart emoji. It's a good idea.
Green heart for Supabase.
Green heart. You're just full of excellent ideas. Green heart. Envious. Okay, so we want to be able to click this, and then next to it, we want to have like however many likes. Actually, that shouldn't be in the button.
Although, yeah, the button is pretty small otherwise, right?
Yeah, good call. So we want to make.
So maybe just put the span in the button as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then you can click that, and yeah, this value should be updating every single time someone likes our beautiful door content. So we're going to need this data to exist in the database. So there are a couple of ways that we could structure it. We could have a.
Let's just add it to the door, no?
Yeah. So we're just going to be incrementing a value. If we were going to keep like comments or something like that, we want to keep a track of like which user is adding that comment and at what time. But since this is just going to be a value that's constantly incrementing, we can just add it as a column on the doors table. So this is going to be an integer. Let's make it the biggest integer we can, which I think is, we don't have a big int. I was going to say we should use big int, but we've got an 8-bit integer, which I think should be enough. The default value can be 0, and well, I mean, yeah, anyway.
No, yeah, should not be null.
Yeah, anything with a default value, I guess, would never be. Oh no, I guess you could update it to be null. All right, cool. So we have 0 likes for all of our doors, and so now, if we want to display that in our application, we can pull in. Gee, I wish we used star. Then we'd already have likes.
Oh no.
And then here we want to say our likes. Sorry, door.likes. And if we refresh, we see 0 likes. And then if we were to come here and, I guess we can make it update. So if we go to our application, when we actually click this button, we want to add a like, and that is going to be a new function. And we're going to say await. Actually, we don't even need to really await. We can just fire it off. So we can say Supabase client dot from our doors table. We want to update likes. And we go and check the documentation, which we did have open at some point.
What happened?
I forgot how to do a update statement.
Gotcha.
Update. So we want to update so it is an object where we give it the key and then the value. Much nicer than Postgres. So we want likes to be, ooh, we have special things for this, don't we?
Oh, the increment?
Yeah. Are they modifiers or filters or? Contains range, overlaps text, blah, 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 blah. Increment.
Oh, we could use a stored procedure.
We could use a stored procedure. Okay.
That's what SilentWorks is recommending.
Okay. We can do that. All right. So stored procedures are really cool and something that it is really good to cover. So I'm glad that we are going to cover them. Basically, a stored procedure is just a way for us to trigger a function, but from the front end. So here we've got our Supabase functions, or sorry, Postgres functions that we were using earlier to create a profile and update the app metadata, which I'm sure you'll remember if you were here for the 2 hours in our stream that we were trying to do that. So we are going to create an increment likes function. It's going to be on our public schema. The return type will be void, I guess. Or should it be record? Do we want to return the thing that comes back? Nah, it can be void. We don't care about any arguments because we're just going to be firing this off and saying update it. So we can say, I guess we want to select the, actually we will need to pass in an argument. How will we do this? Because we want to know
Let me put
which
it in the
door.
private chat. It's just the, yeah, we'll just do.
Oh, right. Like,
I mean, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Should we do that?
That sounds great. So yeah, we could actually just change this to a regular SQL statement and use just SQL, which means we don't need our begin and end. So we're just updating our doors, and we're setting likes to be likes +1, where the ID is equal to, so that's what we'll need to bring in. All right, field name +X. Okay. Right. Okay, so we'll need to take in 2 arguments. So we'll need to probably bring in the ID. And we'll need to bring in, well, I guess the increment value is always going to be 1. So we just want it to be 1. So we just need to bring in the row ID. Now we just call it ID. Yeah. So here we want, we'll call it row ID, door ID. Make it more explicit.
And then we have a question, maybe while you do that, I can answer. Can you write raw SQL from the front end instead of using Next.js-like syntax? Are there any security concerns? So no, you should not be writing raw SQL from the front end. Yes, there is security concerns with that. So the way Supabase works actually is it exposes a so-called post-REST API, which is basically it auto-generates a REST API for your Postgres database. And so you can use raw Postgres if you wanted to. So basically the Supabase clients are just Postgres implementations in the different languages that then just do the REST API calls. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can, like write some safe SQL that we're happy to execute, and then call it with RPC.
Yes. Exactly. So that's the thing where we're where the client doesn't have sort of the, if you have some crazy SQL business logic that you want to put in the database, then you can write it as a function, and then you can just execute the remote procedure call, so Supabase client RPC, over the REST API. And so that's how you generally would do kind of more complex SQL statements. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've created our function in Supabase, which just increments our likes, which is just going through, it's taking in a door ID. And so which door do we actually want to increment the likes for? We're then updating in the doors table, the likes column. We're setting likes to whatever they are +1. So we're just incrementing them by 1 every time, where the ID is equal to that door ID that we were passed as a parameter. And so now we have this function, this increment likes function. And so then we can use our Supabase client to use RPC to call that function. And so we're calling increment likes, and we're giving it the door ID. And so now if I save this and click the like button a couple of times, you'll see that we're getting a whole bunch of errors in the console. And so I suspect we have violated some.
What does it say?
Could not find public increment likes function. Did I make it a public increment likes? Public increment likes, which takes a door ID. And wait, Supabase client RPC increment likes, and then we're passing it a door ID. That's the Supabase client RPC. All right, let's get a little bit more information. All right. Could not find public increment likes function or the public increment likes function with a single unnamed JSON or JSONB parameter in the schema cache. Try reloading the schema cache. It's a weird one. I haven't seen that before. Increment likes on public, door ID, update doors like that. And then Supabase client, RPC, increment likes. Let's just try creating it again.
Yeah, maybe do you want to just create it via SQL? I don't know.
Or do you mean run that by SQL?
If the dashboard has any.
Let's try one more. Oh, sorry.
I think return type is just void. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was going to be ID, which is an integer. And that's what we want to do. Update doors, set likes, maybe public.doors just in case. Be more explicit. Set likes to be likes +1.
Yeah, so it's interesting because SilentWorks has some language SQL volatile. I don't know. Oh yeah, so it is SQL volatile. Okay.
So increment likes. Still getting that same error. Increment likes.
What did it say with a single unnamed JSON or JSONB parameter? So is the parameter? No, we. Oh wait. How are you calling the RPC again?
Supabase client.rpc.
And then, yeah, 1 second. So okay, increment likes. It needs to be a JSON object, right? So RPC increment likes door ID.
And door.id, I think, would be a number. Not that JavaScript really cares, but type of door.id. Undefined. Okay, so are we actually passing across the correct stuff? So if we have a look at the network,
if you look at the URL, it should be there, right? And then where's the door ID?
yeah, I'm not sure. Where is our door ID?
Maybe it's just expecting a single integer argument. No, I think with parameters you need to pass. Oh yeah, maybe just try passing in the door ID. Is that? Does it need to be a JSON? Because it was saying something about JSON, right? So if you just pass the door ID there.
So I guess that will be doors. Which one are we actually looking at? We're looking at an excellent course by an excellent instructor on Egghead about how to build a SaaS product using Next.js, Supabase, and Stripe, which is index 2. What are we doing? Send that in as the parameter.
No, but I think just instead of a JSON object, because it says something that it's not expecting a JSON object, right?
No, that seemed to work, passing it in as the number, which is weird because our door.
Oh, the door is a string, right? Coming from Next.js. Is that it?
We're not using a star. So we're not getting the ID because we told her we don't care about the ID anymore. We shot ourselves in our own foot.
Wait, but are we not getting the ID from the page?
Yeah. Silly us. Okay. This was working the whole time. It was a silly by us. So yeah, so we can click this many times and we don't see any feedback on the page. But if I was to refresh, we'll see that there are actually 15 likes now because I spammed that button a whole bunch. And so each time this updates in the database, it would be great if we could notify the front end so that the front end could then update that value on the fly. And thankfully, Supabase gives us exactly that functionality. So we can use something called real-time. So the first thing we need to do is enable real-time on our particular table that we want to be able to receive update events from. So if we come to replication, so if you go database, replication, and then choose which tables you would like to enable replication for. So in this case, we only care about the doors, so we can enable that one. And then if we will need to set up a subscription to any changes on that table. So we can import use effect from React. And we can call use effect, pass it arrow function. And then in here, we can say, what's up?
Should we make the likes a state variable, right? Because then the subscription can just set the state. Is that what we're doing?
That's an excellent idea. So we need to bring in use state as well. Whoa. And we can say likes, set likes equal to use state. And initially, this will be set to door.likes.
Likes, nice.
And then we say use effect. We want to set up a subscription, which is equal to Supabase client dot subscription. I'm going to have to check this in the docs.
It's first from, yeah. So you say Supabase dot from, and we say our table doors, and we can actually just listen to the specific row. So we can say from doors colon ID equals dot door ID. So it's all a string. So I think we need a string literal. And now you need an equal sign, then an EQ dot,
right,
and then the ID. Fun. That was it. Yeah.
That's why you were saying string literal, because
yes, yeah,
we want to interpolate in our door dot ID. Cool.
That's it.
And then, so from there, we want to, is it on? We want to tell it what we want to listen to.
Yes, on update.
And then we get a payload passed into a function, which we can, how about I just look at the box here? Real time.
We do the set like payload.new or something like that, right?
Yeah. So this is what I'm working towards here. So yeah, rather than just subscribing to all tables and all events, I'm just subscribing to the doors table and just subscribing to the update event. I get this payload, and then I can do something in that function, and then I call .subscribe. So here we can do something, and then we can call .subscribe, and that gives us back a subscription. And with use effect, we can return an arrow function where we can do any kind of cleanup that we want. And so here we would want to unsubscribe from our subscription, which I think is just unsubscribe.
I think it might be a remove subscription.
Remove subscription.
Yeah, Supabase dot remove subscription, my subscription.
Okay.
Or maybe it has an unsubscribe as well.
So Supabase client dot remove subscription, is that what you mean?
Yeah, remove subscription and then pass in the subscription.
Let me give it our subscription, which is this subscription here.
Yep.
And yeah, and then we can just do something. So first we can just console log out our payload so we can see what the structure of that looks like. And now if we click like, because that's triggering an update in the database, we should be seeing something. But we are not.
Do you need to reload because of the use effect?
Potentially. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So every time we click that, we get this payload, and then inside that payload, we can again see the old and the new values. So if we have a look at new, we have likes, and then we have the new value for our likes. So we can go payload.new.likes and get the new value. So that's what we want to set our likes to here, is payload.new.likes. So again, that new, that's going to be the whole row of our newly updated database row in the doors table. So now we just need to actually use our likes. Instead of door.likes, we just want it to be likes. And now let's refresh just in case. And let's click, and it goes up to 25. And let's click and click and click and click and click and click and click. We can keep doing that. And since we probably have just enough time, let's deploy it to production so that everyone else can click that like button a whole bunch of times.
Yes, let's get them likes up.
Absolutely.
And the nice thing with real time is basically as any one of you clicks the button, it will go up on our screen. So that's the whole point of real time. It's not a, it's not a really cool use case here with the likes, but hey, it is working.
It's a use case. So we can import, actually, hang on. All right. This is actually just loading my page. Cool. So we've got our advent calendar. We can import that. This is why Vercel is so cool. The integration is obviously so tight with Next.js because they also built Next.js. And so through the UI, we can basically just deploy our Next.js application and then have it update every single time we make a change. And one thing we will need is our environment variables. So we're just going to show those one more time.
These are all anon keys though, right?
Oh yeah, they are.
We
these
haven't
are
actually
okay to be
used
public.
the service role key. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is something that is, I think, super unique and special about Supabase and the way that it's been designed is that we can expose all of this stuff to the front end. And it's not a security risk because we have row-level security enforcing that, basically just denying all actions other than the ones that we choose to explicitly enable, which is very cool. So it's going to take a little bit to build and deploy our application. But you'll see I'm doing this from my GitHub repo. So I've pushed this up to GitHub. We have an advent calendar repo. And so it's reading this repo and deploying our application. I didn't stall for long enough. It's reading every single one of our folders in this repo and checking the files that are inside those folders, and then reading the contents of the files in those folders. And then it's deploying it to their CDN and, oh no, we got an error.
Oh,
we can do this.
What happened?
We can do this. Object, pre-rendering, object, likes of null. What's happened? What have we done wrong?
Was it property? Cannot read property likes of null. Okay, so look for in your code for dot likes. And then something door is null. Is somewhere door maybe null? Oh, I think maybe
makes sense. If we're getting
at get static props, yeah.
So in get static props, so we get static paths, we build the paths called get static props, and then we have an ID.
Yeah, I think we might need to. So door.likes is the error somewhere. So maybe do door (likes) (0), just in case there's like some. Right, is that the only door.likes we have?
Yes.
Well, we have a payload.new.likes, but that should be fine.
But that'll happen later. Yeah, that wouldn't trigger a build error. So let's add that and commit fix and push. And then guess we can just try to do this again. So we've got our advent calendar. Oh, damn, we're gonna get our environment variables. We'll get there. And we'll deploy again, already exists. Okay, so if I go to here and go to Advent Calendar, and we can try to trigger another deploy, which is somewhere.
But if you push changes, shouldn't it auto deploy? No.
I don't know if it wired up correctly initially. Redeploy. Oops. So this is, yeah, redeploying fixie fix. What are your plans for the weekend, Thor?
Well, I need to run off because I'm gonna go sailing now. So
awesome.
I hope there's enough wind.
If not, just slam your hammer into the ground and call down the thunder and lightning and create your own storm.
Yeah.
All right, this is gonna work. Are you feeling confident? Oof, it didn't work. So why is it trying to pre-render a page /object object? So in our
okay, should you maybe just say static paths and just set path to 0? So basically, let's not pre-build anything and just build it on. No, it's just an empty array. Sorry, right?
Right.
And then you can comment out the Superbase client doors thing. So basically, then we're always in the fallback, and we're just building the page as we request it.
Okay.
Should we do that?
Oops.
And while you do that, I'm gonna get my gear together.
Okay, sure. All right, let's push this up. See if it works. And this should trigger another automatic build. I just worked it out. I know what it is.
What?
Here, it's actually so door IDs, we're saying, yeah, so this we need to actually destructure ID from what we're mapping over. What we're mapping over is a collection of objects that has the key ID. All right, so I'm just going to quickly do this because we should do it properly. Which means actually we don't need this.
I mean, it's still doing properly. Oh, no. It's just not pre-building anything.
Commit. Actual fix.
Which I actually think we might not want to pre-build anything, right?
We do want to pre-build everything, always.
But because of our role policies, the pre-build will actually not pre-build all the doors, right? So there isn't really much point in pre-building the doors. That's my point.
Okay, right. That's a very good point. Because it's running on the server, and so it's not running as a user, you mean? And so our row level policy is blocking it from actually getting any of the doors.
It's getting the doors based on the date, right? So depending on when you deploy it, it might get a couple doors, but then it doesn't get any future doors, right? And so because of that, we might as well just build the door whenever it is available or something. I mean, yeah, like you can do it various different ways.
It's working. All right, let's dump this in the chat. So if I come across to
is it working?
It is working.
Nice.
So if I put this here, and
can you put it in the private chat as well?
Sure.
So I can click on it. Nice.
Whoops, added an extra slash. Enjoy. And if we all go to that page, and obviously, not my face, go to build a SaaS product with Next.js, Superbase, and Stripe, obviously ID number 2. Then
It doesn't do anything.
No, it's not working. One day something will work the way that it's meant to work. All right, so we send off that post. It goes off. And we're getting back null. Door ID 2.
So the increment likes seems to be working. Did we have the set likes? Yeah, we had it, no?
Yeah. So it's working locally with likes, set likes, and initializes it as that, and then sets up the subscription, and then anytime that changes, it updates it to the new likes, and then we're displaying the likes in the button. But even if I hit it a bunch of times and refresh, we're still not getting...
Because the page is statically built? No, it should be fine.
No. Yeah, so it should start off as that statically built value. What is going on there? Anyway, we might need to leave it there, so you can escape and go sailing. But I can keep working on this.
I'll think about it on the water.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe we can do. Well, yeah, we'll see how next week goes. But maybe we can do a supplementary stream, like a short stream next week, and just work through.
Oh, log in first. We need to log in first.
Of course.
Something
that we should definitely be handling in our...
We should be just checking...
and our login links to... All right. 1 second, everybody. We'll get there. So because we've now deployed this to Vercel, in our auth settings, we've explicitly said that our site URL is over localhost. So we need to change that to our Vercel URL. And then that's it, because our GitHub callback URL comes to our Superbase instance. So that should be all we need to change. And now we should be able to...
Oh, it is working. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm excited. I want to see it. Oh my God, there's so many likes. Everyone go quick. Crash the Superbase servers.
That's fabulous. Okay, I think with that we can... Thank you, chat. Today, you've been a lifesaver. We love you all. Thanks for tuning in. And maybe lower your volume now, because we have a nice little jingle outro that we're going to play. Okay. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Alistair. Thanks
for spending 4 days with us.
Hijabi Coder, Sumya. Thanks. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And do get your hackathon entries in. We're looking forward to seeing what you have built. All right. Have a great Friday and weekend. Bye-bye.
See ya.